Hello, everyone. Hello, hello. We are here on the episode 7 of Java Maple Leafs, and today we have Bruno Borges with us. That is a that is a pleasure, and I hope we can enjoy this conversation, learning a lot about some subjects like Java, the journey from Brazil to Canada, AI, business transformation, and other things. So, Bruno, thank you for your time and to be here with us.
Yeah, no, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me. It's always a great opportunity to talk to folks, share my story, my experience, exchange ideas. So thank you for the invitation and to have me here. And looking forward for the next 60 minutes or so. Let's see what we uncover.
Yeah, cool. Let me say hello on the chat. Hey, Luis, you are here. Cool. So let's just start it, and I believe we can start talking a little bit about your journey from Brazil to Canada as someone that is also a developer and at least start as a developer. And how was your path to move to Canada? Your challenges, your lessons learned, what you would like to share about it.
Yeah, I know we probably have some Brazilian friends watching this that are seeking a way out, to find a way to leave Brazil for better opportunities outside the country. I think my journey is um, interesting because it's very unusual, a very different path than most people that I've met over the last 10 years since I left the country. Um, Living here in Vancouver, I met a lot of folks that um, took the hard, difficult path for for working internationally. They took a way of through student visa, a way that takes them to a college outside the country, and those are very difficult paths. But it's viable ones if the person has the means to finance that path. I took a very different path, and I was very lucky just to happen to be at the right place at the right time. I was working at Oracle. Actually, before Oracle, part of my interview process to join Oracle that I negotiated with my manager at the time was that after about 2 to 3 years, I was interested in joining Oracle USA, moving to Oracle USA. So that was a message that I gave to my hiring manager during the interview because Oracle being a multinational company and having offices around the world, it's always a possibility, right? When a person works for a multinational company, there's always a possibility that you can relocate to different offices around the world. And my goal was to, within 2 to 3 years, to move to Oracle USA. Um, so that journey started back in 2012 in Sao Paulo. And one thing that I made sure that my goal could be done was to establish a relationship with people in the Oracle USA office, right? So it makes it a lot easier when you want to relocate to an office and people in that office know you. They are willing to work with you. They're willing to go the extra mile to make it possible that you migrate and work in their location. So for the first 2 years working for Oracle Brazil, um, I worked really hard to establish those relationships. In fact, um, One of those relationships was with the WebLogic team, the Oracle WebLogic Java EE application server team. I and funny enough, we mentioned this because just this morning I was doing a workshop with the customer, and the customer came to me and said, "Hey, wait a minute, are you Bruno who wrote Docker files and for containers for WebLogic?" And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, it was me." Because back in 2013, uh, Docker exploded. It became a thing. Like containers started around 2013, and I felt like this is amazing. Wow, I can have a WebLogic installation on the go. I can just do Docker run, and my WebLogic is up and running. That's awesome. So I ended up writing Docker files for it, and I posted the project on GitHub. I created the Oracle organization on GitHub, um, and I initiated the project. The very first project of Oracle on GitHub is the container image project that I started around 2013. So I was not only writing Docker files, I was managing the Oracle presence on GitHub without anybody asking. You know, um, eventually I ended up working with the open source office team at Oracle, especially the legal team, to make sure that all the open source contributions were within compliant with Oracle policies. So after after that project, that's where my relationship with the Oracle US team, especially the WebLogic team, grew strong, and I was able to get involved with product marketing, events, developer relations activities, things like that. My work was not developer relations. My work with Oracle Brazil was product management, outbound, sales enablement, partner enablement, visiting customers, helping the local marketing team. It was product management in a way, but more outbound external activities, less
Mm.
product development.
Yeah.
But I did the Docker files, and then it was internal product development. So that's what allowed me to um, achieve my intent from the day that I joined the company. So in 2015, 3 years later, I negotiated and I got the job. I became part of the global uh, PM team at Oracle USA. So to me, the lesson is just like find a company that has, number one, offices in the location that you want to work with, and second, be honest on your long-term plan. And we hear that question, where do you see yourself in 5 years? I was like, I see myself in California. That's where I see
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah, I got it.
Um, and just be honest about it. So, but then I also think about, okay, why should they pick me to do this international transfer instead of just hiring someone else? And the number one reason is not technical skills, because they could find somebody in the US that knew Docker files, that knew how to do uh, presentations to customers and work with marketing. And I mean, there are like 300 million people in the US. I'm sure they could find somebody. But it was the unique combination of my skills, and most importantly, the networking, the relationship that I built, the trust that I built with the team in the US, that made them feel like, we want Bruno.
Yeah.
And that's why I ended up moving.
Yeah, yeah.
The
I
move
got it.
the move to Canada was just a consequence of being in the US and getting a job offer from Microsoft. That's it. And some people ask, well, why did you go to Canada? Well, that's a immigration detail on timing of visas and work permits and PRs and green cards. Things didn't align perfectly for me to work from Microsoft in the US. So that's why I came to Canada. But I'm happy. I'm happy in Canada, and I've been working and living here since I joined Microsoft in 2018. So that's 8 years, seven
Yeah.
to 8 years now.
Yeah. Yeah, that is cool. But you mentioned something very important that you started uh, making contributions to Oracle to create this technical environment to enable people to use containers on WebLogic.
Yeah.
When anyone else was doing, you start to do that. So open source also is a very important part of that. Or it wasn't open.
It was open. The Docker files were open and they were available on GitHub.com. Um, but I think, I mean, going back to being at the right place at the right time. The other thing that I can also um, highlight here was by the time that I did those Docker files and I enabled WebLogic inside containers, the WebLogic team did get a request from a few customers. Hey, when are you going to put WebLogic inside containers? And the team at the time was like, what do you mean WebLogic in containers? Doesn't make sense. And so we're not looking into it. And then when I presented to them, they were like, wait, Bruno put WebLogic inside containers, and we have a customer asking for it. And when I explained to them the value and I showed them the demos and I explained the benefits for me and how I see customers could benefit as well, they were like, oh, okay, that makes sense, right?
Yeah,
So would I have had that success if that customer hasn't showed up? Possibly. Maybe it wouldn't have gone anywhere without that customer. But sports is the same thing. A golf player doesn't score a hole in one by luck. They have been practicing for decades, right? Luck is an element, but you got to be prepared at the right place at the right time,
yeah,
right? So
right.
if I had only written those Docker files, let's say with AI, if I have only written the Docker files with AI, not understanding the possibilities, just like, hey, AI, write Docker file for my WebLogic, not understanding the value of it, how it could benefit customers, I wouldn't be prepared for a meeting with the team. Like, hey, Bruno, explain to me. And I was like, well, give me a second. Let me ask ChatGPT, and then I can give you an answer. So I was prepared. I understood the Docker files, understood Docker, understood container technology, I understood WebLogic. So I was able to develop that conversation with the team, and I was able to answer the questions, not just from them, but from the customers as well. So in the end, luck is an element, but you got to be prepared, and you got to be willing to spend time learning for your own skills and developing relationship with people around you
Yeah,
to make them see that you are prepared.
yeah, yeah. Cool. And um, I understood that the market was very very different that what we have today in Canada. We live in different times, and
True.
I think I see money is moving around. Some companies doing layoffs, and how do you see that scenario today for someone that is uh, want to be prepared for opportunities to enter in the market or to find a job offer?
When I lived in Rio, um, I used to surf in Copacabana and other beaches over there. Uh, I grew up in Florianopolis, South Brazil, and that's where I learned how to surf. Um, and the thing with surfing is you look at the waves coming, right? The first wave is usually not the best one. You're like, eh, it doesn't look like I can make something out of it. The second wave is interesting. The third wave tends to be the best. Um, and then you got to keep an eye on that. But you're not alone on the ocean. There's other surfers as well, like lots of other people surfing. So you also pay attention to where they are positioning themselves in the water. Are they here or are they here? Is the wave coming this way or this way? So you see these other folks also looking into the ocean, also looking for the best waves. Eventually, the wave starts, and you see like three, four, five surfers going for the same wave. Who gets to surf that wave? Is it the best surfer, or is it the surfer that is at the best place, at the best location, the best spot to get to surf that wave, right? So it's not necessarily about skills. It's about being at the right place at the right time. But how do you find the the best place and what is the best time? So preparation is everything. You got to know how to swim. You got to know how to how to get there. You got to get through the crashing waves. So it hurts. You get drowned a few times. Eventually, you get there. Once you get there, you got to situate. You have to situate yourself. You got to see people around you, what they are doing. Are they going for the first wave, the second wave? They're going left. They are going right, and try to surf the wave. Don't go where there's no one. Why should I be here? There's no one. There's no wave here. So I'm going to prepare for these kind of waves, and I'm going to compete with these folks. So I think there's a lot of trial and error. There's a lot of learning, and sometimes you learn without even knowing if you're going to surf the wave. But at least you are prepared because when the wave comes, that's your shot, right? So I think in today's time, the let's just say that the amount of waves is reducing.
Yeah.
like like people are asking the surfers get out of the water, less waves. You know, your board is not the best anymore. There's a robot surfing waves. So it
Yep.
is challenging. It is more challenging than ever. But you got to continue preparing yourself for the next wave. And if you happen to be at the right place at the right time, that is that element of luck, right? That is that element of luck. But you have to be out there. So I would say
Yeah.
for this market, if you get impacted by a layoff, don't take it as a bad thing. Oh my God, oh, it is a bad thing. Okay, it is a bad thing, but don't take as the end of the world
Yeah.
because are you preparing yourself? Like, have you been preparing yourself regardless of the layoff? Have you been studying? Have you been practicing? Have you been learning new things? That is what differentiates you from the other surfers. If they're just surfing, but you're out there on the beach, on the sand, reading the ocean, reading where the waves are coming from, then you're gonna know where to go to once you get in the water. So preparation is everything. Learning is everything. Always be learning, um, and do recognize when luck plays a role in your success and appreciate that because many times luck is something that is given to you by I don't know, karma, randomness, or relationships that you build throughout your career.
Yeah.
That is what makes the opportunities to come up.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, that is a very good explanation and very good analogy about, and I think totally makes sense. Great. So let's move on. I can see a question. Hey, Bruno. Bruno Souza is with us on the chat. He sent a question here. Let me put on the screen. So, Bruno, you are an amazing leader and someone that has impressive connection with the managers and directors. Can you talk a bit about how to do that?
Yeah, this is yeah. Bruno Souza and I are great friends. We know each other. I actually worked in Bruno's company at the beginning of my career. We worked together at conferences in the past, uh, not so long ago, actually. So yeah, Bruno's a great friend. One of the best barbecue dudes that I've ever met in my life. And his question is interesting because a lot of my career, throughout my career, one thing that I've always thrived for was to establish a good relationship with my managers and what we call a skip manager or our boss's boss, right? The person above our boss. And the reason for that is, in our reorg, sometimes you lose your manager, but you keep your boss's boss. You go from this team to that team. Your direct boss is different, but your, you know, super boss is still the same. So that relationship helps a lot navigate organizational changes uh, in a company. And it's also important to understand what sort of a conversation can you have with your manager and your manager's manager. So how I like to frame it is I like to think about my manager as my day-to-day problem solver helper. If your manager is not helping you solve problems, he or she is being a bad manager. Because to me, the primary role of a manager is to unblock their employees, is to help their employees succeed on their projects, their tasks, their day-to-day job. But your skip manager is there to help you develop your career for the long term, like beyond your current projects. If you have a manager, a direct manager that does that already, that's awesome. That's great. You have a manager that thinks that has this broad vision. That's great. But most often, what I came to learn is that the skip manager has the bigger vision. The manager has more the within scope vision, and that's totally okay. And that's why it's important to have relationship with both of them, a good relationship with both of them. Also, be aware. My managers, I tell them, hey, do you mind if I have a one-on-one meeting with my manager's manager, my boss's boss? I never had issues with that. I know stories about folks that were told, no, you cannot have meetings with that person. I personally think that's bullshit. And I also think that there are ways to work around that because your boss cannot prevent you from talking to anybody in the company, anybody, including the CEO. Will I get a response from Satya Nadella, current CEO at Microsoft? Probably never. So I also have to know my place. It doesn't make sense for me to try to have a meeting with Satya. But my skip manager, totally reasonable because I understand the org chart. I understand the scope. I understand the business. So once you're in a company and you understand the org chart and you understand what everyone is focused on, you have a business vision, not just an employee vision. And that allows you to become like a I don't know what's the term. I like to call entrepreneur, like an entrepreneur inside a company. You have this mindset of somebody who develops ideas, who develops relationships, and helps everyone succeed, not just yourself. And that is business. That is developing value, bringing value. Um, so my answer to this question is develop those both relationships for different purposes and take the best out of it.
Great. Yeah, that is a great answer to not only be there doing uh, for what we are paid to do it, but also understand the context, understand the people, and try to create this relationship. That is
Yeah,
very
absolutely.
cool. So let's move a little bit to another subject. I think let's talk A little bit about Java. We all love Java, so um, uh, we are in this moment where every every technology is important to be in the uh, i- talking a little bit about AI. So Java also have to be prepared to handle, um,
Mhm.
integrate with AI, and how, from your point of view, how is Java going on this evolution of using AI?
So a lot of the new stuff that is coming out is quite interesting. Stuff like Project and Babel from Rod Johnson, LangChain for J, Spring AI, the MCP Java SDK, OpenAI SDK for Java. There's a lot of cool stuff being developed, and that's just for developing intelligent applications. Um, on the productivity side, GitHub Copilot is present on IntelliJ, Eclipse, and Visual Studio Code. JetBrains has AI assistants. I think it's called Junie or something like that, also available.
Yeah,
Um, LLMs understand Java really well because of the legacy and the amount of content online. With either it's Stack Overflow or YouTube or documentation or tutorials or blogs, decades of material online help LLMs answer any question about Java. So there are two ways to answer this question. One is, can I be a more productive Java developer with AI? And the second thing is Java the right technology for writing intelligent applications? So the first question, um, can I be more productive as a Java developer with AI? Very solid yes, you can. And and the reason is the quality of LLMs of models for Java is beyond above the curve for any other language, in my opinion. Again, because of the history of content online available publicly for LLMs to be trained against. Public documentation, Java docs, Maven libraries. Over decades, Maven libraries have been developed and published. Source code available. Like it's an ecosystem that is primarily built around open source. Um, Diversity of vendors and markets. So we have companies from different countries. Europe and North America dominate the industry in the Java ecosystem, but we also have even Chinese companies like Alibaba and Tencent, companies that have invested in Java to some degree. Alibaba, AliExpress significantly. Um, South America with a huge amount of developers, Africa as well. So I think the amount of content out there is so rich that it never surprises me when I tell agentic AIs go do this thing in Java, they get it done really well. Some hints are important to give exactly because of the fragmentation of the Java ecosystem. Sometimes you have to set guardrails so the LLM doesn't mix things up because the Java ecosystem is also very fragmented. There's no single way of doing things. I can use Spring, I can use Quarkus, I can use Micronaut, I can use Halidom, I can use Drop Wizard, I can use Spark Java, I can use Struts, I can use Ant, I can use Cradle, I can use uh, GWT, Vaadin, and so many other frameworks out there, reach faces, prime faces, so vast that it's important to give some guardrails into the LLM. But once you have those guardrails set, the LLM is very, very powerful to give what you're looking for. So it's a solid yes. You can become a more productive Java developer thanks to AI. I will say that the best way to be a productive developer with AI or any language for any language is to not only to use the best model, but to use the right model for the right task. So in the same way that we keep saying use the best tool for the job, use the best model for the task. So if you have this task at hand, maybe this model will work best. If you have that task, maybe this other model will work best. So also keep that in mind. And it is a good thing for some solutions out there. GitHub Copilot on Visual Studio Code IntelliJ, you can select different models. Devox has a plugin for JetBrains, and you can select different models. It's an AI assisted by Devox. Stefan Johnson, who organizes the conference, he built his own assistant. So if you have a tool that allows you to select different models for different tasks, that's where you can become very productive. If you rely on a single model only, then you're capped by that model. If that model is bad for a particular task, it will always be bad for that particular task. So having the ability to change models is important in my opinion. Now, is Java the right stack to write intelligent applications? I will say in general, yes, it's a good stack to write intelligent applications. But sometimes it depends. So let's look into data science. I'm a data scientist. I'm coming up with a new algorithm, a new model, a new way of calculating weights and temperatures and doing some tests here and there. Python is great for that reason. You change the algorithm a little bit and run again. Change, run again, change, run again until you get something. Java is number one, you have to compile again and again. And to set up the project, you spend a lot of time. But then with AI, you can be very productive and set up a project very fast. So maybe that argument doesn't hold in true anymore.
Yeah.
But still, like for Python, it's very straightforward to write Python code to run some tests, especially against AI models. But for enterprise applications, business applications, you want some assertion that that code will continue to run as intended. And given the type safety in Java, given how the frameworks evolve, given how the language evolves, the performance of the JVM, the ecosystem, the richness of the ecosystem, I think I think customers want something a little bit more stable and more guaranteed or asserted that it will continue to run as initially designed. So um, yeah, I would say for more long-term applications, there is significant value in developing intelligent applications in Java. Same values perhaps as writing in .NET or even in Node.js, but certainly to some degree, again, in my opinion, different than in Python. And this goes for different purposes, different applications. But yeah, in general, I think it's great to see the ecosystem around in Java growing to enable intelligent applications like, again, with LangChain for J, Spring AI, Google's Agentic Development Kit, ADK, uh, the MCP SDK. Yeah, there's lots of libraries out there that have a Java capability. Microsoft developed a library called Semantic Kernel, and we are currently working on a new library as part of a new design for agentic framework SDKs. And a Java version should come out next year. So everybody's invested. Everybody wants to make businesses, developers, customers capable of writing intelligent applications. And combining that intent with AI-driven productivity, I think we're going to see really cool applications, new applications coming out in the next year or so that will surprise a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with that. I was thinking during this day about productivity and using AI for that. I believe you talk about that on IBM event some weeks ago. I'm not sure, but um, because to be more productive, to have first in words what you already know, and because you have to guide the code assistants to do it, and for complete authority is Every time I have to write, put in words what I'm thinking is kind of different and takes time to to do it. I don't know if getting, but where exactly do you see our jobs will be transforming using code assistance? Like to do manual things like compare files or compare my code with this documentation of standards. But when to write a logic be a little bit uh, tricky to all in words. You know, does that make sense?
It was hard to follow. I'll be honest with you. If I let me reframe the question, and then you tell me if it's what you are asking about. Um, will I become a developer that relies on AI so much that the way I interact with AI fundamentally changes how I do my job? Is the question?
Hmm, I don't know. I, I see we have part of our job. We can use AI to do it, right? Like more mechanic job or
Hmm.
something repetitive. But where I have to describe uh, too much, then could be I could lost time to do it.
Oh,
Do you
okay.
see that?
So the question is, the more I try to explain myself, the less clear it becomes for the AI because now it's too much information and maybe I'm contradicting myself. Uh, is that it?
Yeah, maybe that.
Okay. So so my approach using AI these days, and this kind of relates with a question that we got from DevOps underscore Tiago. You sort of transitioned from a technical role into a more of a management position. How was that for you? I think yeah, I think these two things are related. In the past year or so, I would say the past 2 years, my usage of AI has exploded because of a combination of experience, technical ability, and how to leverage AI. Experience in software architecture, experience in common problems that developers face on a regular basis, technical skills on how to write code and how to build code, how to build software, how to debug. I see a problem. I understand what the problem is about. I can fix it. But leveraging AI so I can do these things faster, right? Um, Earlier this year, I built a software, a uh, SaaS application that integrates with OpenAI, integrates with Gmail, integrates with Google Calendar, runs on a PaaS platform, integrates with PostgreSQL, saves data on PostgreSQL. It has a scheduling system. It has a front end in Node and React. There's no Java, by the way, in that application. Everything is JavaScript on the back end and the front end. Okay, but it works, and it's a great prototype. But I had to be very clear when talking to AI to write the software on how I wanted the architecture to be. I had to
Yeah,
be very clear on my design principles. And why is that? Because there is a cost. Running real things in production, there is a real cost. And the last thing I want is a cloud bill of $300 for one day of agentic AI doing work, you know? So So when I asked AI to write the code for me, I was very clear on my guardrails, my AI principles, oh sorry, my software architecture principles. I was very clear on the technology stack that I wanted to use. to experiment which library should I use, how should I process the user data, how should I store the user data with cryptography, security, etc. So in the end, I would say AI can accelerate, can turn a good experienced developer into a 10x developer, but it may play against a more junior, inexperienced developer. So
because you
you got to
have
be a
to
little bit careful.
think, because you have to think forward and plan.
Yeah, you have
Not
to think ahead of the AI.
uh,
Yeah. But going back to Thiago's question, this transition from technical to management position was in part because um, I kind of wanted to. I always felt like I liked coding. I liked working as a software developer, 9 to 5, sometimes 9 to 11. I like that, but I also like to build write code for fun. And when I was writing code for fun, I was doing presentations, I was talking to customers, I was talking to partners, I was talking to the sales team, I was doing demos. And then I realized this dynamic work is actually what I like to do. I like writing code, but I also like to talk to people about writing code. I like to talk to people about solving their problems with software. So my transition to management was kind of related to my my preference for presenting, being out there, being the face and the voice for a company or its technologies. So that's why I ended up becoming a product manager for outbound activities, outbound purposes, and that's kind of how I ended up in this sort of like PM slash DevRel role. The advantage of the technical experience is that I'm not just a PM that graduated, I have a business degree, and I know how to do business. Like I know how to write code. Therefore, I'm more inclined to use AI for my own benefit, for my own demos, for my own little tools, for my own contributions to open source, for my own engagement with other product teams in the company. And I think that is the. I hope it is a good answer for you, Tiago. I hope you enjoyed that.
great. So I believe you have time for one last question. I have a lot more here, but I believe you can finish with that, thinking about the future and uh, opportunities for the next years, maybe not 10 years, but 3 years, 5 years. What do you see of new opportunities or responsibilities someone technical as a developer, software engineer could get it? What, what new opportunities could be
I think, yeah, I,
emerged
I I think
from that?
I think the career path that I've had is the sort of career path that I imagine more developers to get through. And I'm not talking about my career in particular. I know lots of people who have similar stories like mine, going from technical to more business oriented, more you know um, relationship oriented. And I think the reason for that is AI is capable of writing code. We all know that. But it's about talking to, just as we have to talk to people, there is an art on how to talk to AI. There is an art on how to write prompts, how to collect information and then present to the LLM in a way that the LLM will give you the best result possible. And that is a communication skill. And I'll give you an example. My my cousin asked me a couple months ago, "Hey, can you help me with ChatGPT?" And I was like, "Sure. Let me see what you're writing down." And my cousin was on ChatGPT and just sending random asks. Oh, can you? what is information blah, and then also give me a comment on this, and then finally, also answer me this well because this happened. Like he was writing this huge paragraph, no conciseness, no structure, just random thoughts and questions and opinions, like as if we were at a bar having a conversation, probably after multiple beers. So the way that he was communicating with AI was not well structured, was not well formulated, not well thought out before sending the message. So the answer from the LLM was gibberish, like not great. It's like, and he was like, that's not what I asked. I asked for this, not that. And then there's this back and forth interaction with AI, and really feels like confusing. So I think just as we should continue to develop our communication skills so we can talk to people and make ourselves clear, I think it is important to practice that with AI as well. I'm not saying AI is people. They're not. AI is not people. AI is an algorithm. But it is an algorithm that works best when you provide better information, structured information. Once you understand that and you leverage that, you do develop your career faster because now you are able to deliver faster, deliver more, even within less time.
Mhm.
And keep developing your technical skills as well, because one thing is important. We humans will become more and more communicators and reviewers of code. Communicators in the sense of we dictate what needs to be built, but we are the ones also to review the code. Because the reality is, for how many years already, decades, we humans actually don't write more than 50% of the code. If we count every character in a source code file, the majority of characters in that file was generated by the IDE or by some um, bootstrapping framework or by some template. We don't write every character anymore in a file of a source code. AI is just expanding even more. We are writing even less of the characters in that file. We are using AI to generate that for us. But how we communicate with AI to write what we wanted to write is important. So I like that we as developers have always complained that business people did not know how to write business requirements for developers. And now we are the business people telling AI business requirements to write the code for us. And we
Yeah,
are complaining that AI is not doing a good job. Maybe it's because we are not the ones communicating properly,
yeah.
right?
Now we know how
So
it's hard.
yeah. So Tiago has another question. How do you think AI will change the career path of developers, especially toward product and business? I think developers need to understand business. They need to understand product. They need to understand what is value, what isn't, and how to prioritize. Sure, this feature can be cooler than that feature, but will it bring value? And how fast will that value come? So I would say developers should spend more time. They should continue developing their technical skills, but they should spend a little bit more time understanding the business. And that goes back to our conversation in the beginning, where I said, hey, have a conversation with your skip manager to understand the bigger picture of the company, to understand the bigger picture of the division, so you know where the ship is going ahead, right? So you can be prepared, right? So when the wave comes, you might be at the right place at the right time. You might be needed.
Yeah, very good. Thank you, Thiago, for your question, and also Bruno. I believe we can wrap up and finish. It's almost 1 hour, and um, I would like to thank you, Bruno, for your time. It was a very good time we had here, and uh, these subjects are something very important for for me, for our audience too. And I think we learned a lot, and we had a very good chat. So uh, yeah, thank you to be here.
Awesome.
And
No,
I
thank you. Appreciate it. The time, the opportunity. Thanks, Tiago and Bruno Souza and others for the questions, the comments. Uh, if you're watching this recording after it happened on December 12, 2025, or December 10, 2025, feel free to reach out anyhow. Anyways, it doesn't matter. If I'm still alive, send a message.
cool. So I will share on YouTube. I believe you have the you guys can see the link to the Bruno's Twitter or LinkedIn, and you can reach out
Yeah.
after that too.
And and don't forget to hit subscribe. Silas will put a button here somewhere later.
Yeah, I will try to do that. Good. Thank you guys. Have a good night.
All right. Thanks, Silas. Thank you, everyone. Have a good one.